Good morning. Welcome and thanks for joining us. I'm excited to introduce Jacco van der Kooij today. As most of you know, Jacco is the founder and CEO of Winning by Design and author of Revenue Architecture. His Bowtie framework has reshaped how thousands of companies design and operate their GTM systems. And in today's session, Jacco will introduce Growth Architecture, the next evolution of the popular Revenue Architecture course. You'll receive a primer of the certification course, how to diagnose whether your growth is compounding or decaying, and how leading companies achieve breakout velocity without breakout budgets. As a reminder, we will be sharing a recording of this session via email after the workshop. Jacco, welcome. Over to you.
Oh my gosh. Welcome, everyone. How are you? Good to see everyone. New year or almost new year, I feel like. Yeah, happy to be here with all of you. It's a super exciting future ahead. I think I want to start with how, letting you know, how all this fits. How does it all fit together? So many of you over the past years obviously have taken revenue architecture. And revenue architecture really set the stage, right? It set the stage. Let me see how many of you on the chat. Let me see. Either do a revenue architecture. I'm trying to see how many people have taken revenue architecture. Everyone, how many? Do a +1 on me on my how many. Just okay. There we go. It's already flowing. Okay. Well, it is a pleasure and a treat to be here with you today. And so today we're gonna move over from revenue architecture to growth architecture. Okay. Now, the number one issue we got with revenue architecture that came through everywhere was like, hey, I like the theory, but I need to put this into practice, right? And today you will show us, I will give you a demonstration of our growth architectures. And at the end, I like to believe if I've earned it through what I presented today, I'm going to show you an offer how you can become also a growth architect. Noted. We are no longer with Pavilion. We have a few weeks ago decided to separate ways. They were going a particular way, we were going a particular way, and so noted that none of this is available through Pavilion any longer. Winning by Design has developed its own community and its own community leaders in its regions. People like Renata have been doing this already for years. In international waters. Renata did this in Sao Paulo, and so you'll see a continued role of that. Okay, with that said, let's see what we got. Okay, can you see my screen? I'm looking at Lauren if she gives me a thumbs up. Yes, there we go. Okay, so the point of all this thing that we're doing is to identify what growth is. And I was tempted to share this with you, okay? And what this is it shows you what what the vision is of what we've seen over the past years, or something that I find has been. Let me see, share. Yeah, share. There we go. And so this particular vision is what I had in mind, right? Like I've always loved to make sure that we get an idea of what growth is. Up to this point, growth operated like the Matrix, and I feel like it, right? It's like you could sense it, but you could not see it. You could not put your fingers on it. What was it that growth does? The goal with growth architecture is that we put that away, that we say is like, you know what? There's a better way of doing that, okay? And that is where we're going next. So I'm going to follow this in 3 trajectories, set the stage, show you the new era, and then help you see the future. Okay, with that said, let's set the stage of what we are about to do. Okay, typically what we see is, typically what we see, like when I set the stage, or what I hear is, I hear that people think, are we really in an AI? Is it really going to make a difference? 5% is already being successful. Lots of it have not been successful, and so on and so forth. And so my point to this is as follows. Folks, this is Magnus Carlsen. He is by many considered the world's GOAT, okay? He's the greatest. What I mean with that, if you compare that, for those of you not familiar with chess, if you compare that to an athletic event, he is the world champion over the years in 400 meters, in a mile, in call it the 10K, in a half marathon, a marathon, the steeplechase. He's won every form of chess and so on. He's still a very active chess player and a very live one. He has fantastic stories to tell. And he was asked, hey, if you're the greatest chess player of all time, and he was asked by Joe Rogan on one of his podcasts, and he said, like, hey, could you beat your iPhone running at the highest chess level? He laughed. He said, nope, no chance, not a single chance. And he then elaborated to see that even if he took an advantage of something such as a pawn or even a knight, that if he had the advantage of something so significant, he still couldn't win. And this is not an exception, right? This is the norm. To me, folks, if the world's smartest chess player can now be beat by an iPhone, can we just put this thing to rest? AI is here and it will change GTM. It is going to happen. It is already happening on a scale, but it's going to happen on a scale that we simply cannot comprehend yet. This is going to be a lot, we're going to see a lot of this. Now, the way I'm going to take you through this is I'm going to take you through this analogy, and I'm going to help you understand why growth architecture is needed. And I'm doing that through two ways of thinking. We have what's called reasoning by analogy and first principle thinking. Reasoning by analogy is progression. Hey, think of it as we used to do it this way. We made a minor change and we do it that way. So we went from Marketo-based emailing to outreach-based emailing or sales love-based emailing. And over time, it became targeted email with a high intent signal, right? That is reasoning by analogy. We do something, we mail people, and we do it better. First principle thinking is challenging. It is where we go like, hey, something totally different is happening. Okay, something totally we are doing something changed so dramatically that we need to change. For years, I always call out the 3-point shot, and I said like, hey, the 3-point shot in basketball changed the game for a decade, right? The use of mathematics in baseball changed the game forever. These things are first principle changes. Now, if I now look up on that, it says like, hey, historically, we have used the growth at all cost mindset. Now, the growth at all cost mindset was a response to US federal interest rates. You'll see down here on the left. And as they reset it to zero, in the 2010, 11, 12 timeframe, what we noticed is that manual labor became an option for us to grow GTM. You'll see here on the right, as a result, Salesforce started to build these towers, all to be populated by SDRs, AEs, and CSMs, right? Now, this was supposed to go away. So around 2018, 19, 20, we knew that this was going to change. And so we started that change. Unfortunately, and we were supposed to make that pivot to a grow better approach. However, as you all know, COVID hit and COVID reset, ZIRP, zero interest rate, back to ZIRP, and we went on that route. And so we went on the reasoning by analogy. We go like, okay, well, we can do a lot more. So we didn't pivot. We didn't pivot to what we're supposed to pivot. And that is just, like the way it is. There's nothing we can change about that. But now over the past years, like the zero rate interest policy has reset. Why we are still on that grow, right? But now zero interest rate policy is no longer helping us get the cheap labor, no longer funding, and so on and so forth. You find that many of you executives have an experience in this, and that you actually feel that like it takes a lot of energy nowadays. You're fatigued. Many executives are fatigued. The human energy is low. Why? The things that you were supposed to be doing and you are doing today that always delivered actually is now no longer delivering. And when you lose control of that and you wake up every morning, you do it and you try to do your best and it doesn't deliver, that's where the fatigueness comes in. Now, lo and behold, 2022, 23 comes around and we are seeing, like the growth of AI. Now, what you'll see down here, that dotted line that I put down there, that dotted line represents the OpenAI growth forecast. Now, the reason why I put that up there, against on the left, you see the zero interest rate policy, because government stopped investing in the zero interest rate on our end and started investing in AI companies, nuclear energy to power those AI companies and what. And so that growth forecast actually is a way that to reflect how AI that we experience today is all being fueled by investments in AI. Now, on the left, you'll see now the manual labor side in blue, and on the right, you see the more autonomous growth, right? Like, so that is the kind of like the direction of where we see things going. Now, we are faced with a new pivot, and this pivot, again, what we are now facing is that of AI. And that pivot is, think of it as, we believe that autonomous growth is possible, and maybe not fully autonomous, but close to it. And what does that mean? Autonomous means to create growth that builds growth. And that is a fantastic, we are looking to create growth that builds growth. And for that, we realize that we have to use AI as an infrastructure. And in order to understand how to create growth that builds growth, in order to build a true GTM infrastructure, can't hear. Oh, join. Yes. Matt, I'm sorry. Can somebody help Matt? Yeah, because everybody's joining. Thank you, Matt. I see you. I hear you. Ian is on it. Ian is probably on it. Yes. No. Thanks, Matt. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. And so, so what you'll see down here is that this new growth actually is now approaching, right? We are now seeing where we're going to this new infrastructure. AI, use AI as an infrastructure. Okay, that is, think of it that way, right? Now, understand at the bottom, I'm going to show you where I'm going to step you through once more, but now I'm going to show you what happens at the bottom, okay? Look at the bottom, scalable growth, sustainable growth, and durable growth. Look at the bottom. At first, we had scalable growth. We scaled, human being scalable. Then we had sustainable growth. The cost became very important. We needed to drop the cost, right? And then we got durable growth. And durable growth essentially comes into customers being so happy that they keep renewing and that they keep bringing in other customers. The system self-sustains, right? That builds this new thing. That sets the stage of what we're about to see. And that tells us we are now entering a new era. Okay, now in this new era, I'm going to lean on something. This is the growth. Now, what you're going to notice and what we're now entering is the world of growth architecture. How can we create this amazing thing to create growth that builds growth? That's the focus, right? And so we're now going to add to that by adding 3 different growth loops with 3 different ways of growth: do more, do better, and grow smarter. Okay, so follow me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Boyce. That helps me because I was panicking. Okay, so do more, do better, or grow smarter. Okay, so first, I'm going to look at this thing. This picture that you see down here is what most of our companies' customers are dealing with. On the pink line, you'll see company practical situation. You know, early Q4 this year, I'm at $100 million. I need to be, and this, as you look at the chart, at $2 million mid-2027, give or take 20 months or something like that. This is not uncommon for us, right? They, you know, like, and the mission down here is you can acquire growth, you can build growth, you can do whatever you want. I'm giving you $500 million. You got to get from 100 to 200 million in 20 months, right? Do that. We then calculate what the current run rate is. Like, how did you get to 100? And if we project that line forward, how does that look? That creates that gap, okay? And that gap is significant. The top down is based on valuation. The bottoms up is what marketing, sales, and customer success are putting together. Now, what we're going to do, we're going in growth architecture. This is an example. This is what's called the Monte Carlo analysis. We're actually analyzing that white line and what is truly capable. And what we're learning with that is that the probability of staying on that white line is 90%. 90% chance that that white line reflects the future, okay? But look at that. It also tells us that the current team has 0% chance based on detailed mathematical analysis to hit that target. 0. Not like 1, not like 5, not like 10, not 20. No, it literally says, folks, you have no chance. You have no chance on hitting that, right? And so that tells us that to do more, you know, like has limitations. We do more. Yes, you would say, Jacco, I can hire more salespeople. I would say, true, but you need to fuel more salespeople with more leads. If there were more leads, we wouldn't be having this problem. It's like, do more of what, right? Like, What do you want to throw at it? And often we refer to this as capacity-based planning, right? Like, hey, you think that hiring more salespeople solves the problem. It doesn't. You may hire change salespeople and improve throughput, but hiring more sales or just if you add more leads, it doesn't mean that they're all, like at the same homogeneous quality. The quality is going to drop significantly. Okay, so do more. There's only limitations that you can do. And most of you have, I shouldn't even talk too much about it. Most of you live this every day. You go like, yeah, dude, don't talk to me about do more. Okay, so I'm going to look at do better. Okay, now what we're noticing in this case, and again, using mathematical precision, we determine the impact of AI and headcount reduction. What you'll see down here, that the width of that earlier gray one, we're now narrowing that by letting go of the bottom performers. Think of it that way. The bottom performers are eliminated, and as a result, our capability, our curve shows to the right. Again, this is actual growth architecture analysis. Is relatively simple, but in growth architecture, we teach you how to do this, right? We show you how to do this. And with it, we can also determine the impact of AI, because what AI does, it really helps us narrow that. It delivers a more consistent output than human beings do. The reason why this growth curve is so wide, because essentially it has so many underperformers that skews the lower end. And so we can now say, let go of the bottom end and so on and so forth. Okay. We not only do that for one segment, that would be simple enough, but like what if we separate it into GTM motions and we separate it on the vertical columns and we separate it in acquisition, retention, and expansion. We then identify what the gap of each number is, right? And show where the biggest impact is. And that is really what we start to look at right now, right? Like we then suddenly have a whole bunch of these things and we now can see what the impact of that on the total number is. So imagine I saw the pink line, I saw the white line. How much will the blue line level up from the line? Okay, what do you think? Look at the chart and get an idea. Okay, I'm going to deploy training, ICP targeting, the Winning by Design SKO show will come to town. Like it's like magnificent, right? Everything happens. Training, SDRs, AEs, CSMs. What we notice with our customers, that when we do that we are able to level up and get a do better approach, right? And the do better approach, look, folks, it won't start immediately. You know that. If you train, it takes months to see that impact over time, right? Playbook implementation. Everybody who works on the methodology, we're looking to 9 to 18 months impact, and that is cutting, that is doing it really fast. So you know that impact will grow, and it will accumulate over time, but it won't cut it. More importantly, our analysis in this case of this customer says you still have 0% chance of hitting your growth target to which you took $500 million. Do more leads, more reps, and so on, got us one way. ICP, train better, playbooking, create a better customer journey, all that, okay, got us better, but we still have a gap. So now the question is, how do we close that gap? This is such an important problem today because historically nobody looked at this. It was just like, folks, it's a hot market, just keep growing. Who cares? Hire more people. That was a capacity-based world. But everybody, folks, look at like renowned people like Jason Lemkin, look at David Spitz, look at what all of them are reporting. Like those days are over. No more. The greenfield is no longer there, right? Like it's like California. Every greenfield has a fence around it, right? It's not like Utah where you still have open terrain. Folks, everything is fenced. It's done, right? And as a result, we now need to fix that gap. Like we can't say, oh, it will take care of itself. And doing the same that we have been doing before, doing it more, doing better, gets us the blue, right? That's why growth architecture is so much needed, right? And so we're going to focus via growth architecture on something that is different, something that is new, relatively new. It's not new, but it's new for most SaaS native companies, okay? That's growth loops. And what we are going to show you here, again, actual growth research, is how we show you how to get to $100 million in 24 months. How does it work, right? Because what we are doing inside growth architecture, we essentially are simulating the behavior. We're creating a mathematical model, and then we tweak that model to reflect the changes that are happening. That is a significant new approach that currently the market is not very, very used to, right? And so to give you, let me see, stop share. So I am going to go. So that was the first part. That's growth architecture, okay? Now, I'm going to take a look at the news. What are you taking away so far? So help me out. What is the key takeaway? I'm typing it in. What is your key takeaway? What is your key takeaway? More is not better. Thank you, Charlie Marsh. Always can count on you to get us started. More is not better, right? AI can deliver more consistent output than people do. Diane Walker, absolutely. John with capacity problems. Okay, I can grow to, yeah, look, I love Taro Sullivan. I can now grow to 100 million in 24 months. Look, Taro, and I'll come back to that in a second. Yes, what I want you to understand is, what we looked at when I looked at AI native companies, right? And I went to a whole bunch of them. I realized that some had consumption-based pricing and some had usage-based pricing, but many of them didn't have actually consumption-based pricing. Go to most websites. It's all subscription-based pricing. Almost all of them. A few have consumption-based pricing, and they do grow fast, but there are other companies who grow fast as well, and they have subscription-based pricing. So like that cannot be the cause of it. It helps, it may be of value, but it doesn't, right? When you go to AI natives websites, you also see that many of them not necessarily have some advanced AI solution. Look, go to them, go click on something. You're going to end up on a pricing page that says, click here, enter your credit card for monthly fee. For a single member, if you want a team, here's the advanced price for the team. If you're an enterprise, click here to schedule a discovery call. Like, right? Like, go to the pages. That doesn't mean they're not using it or they're more advanced using it. What we are seeing is, what do AI companies do? And that is it. They have a systems-based AI approach that sits on real-time data. Enabling closed loops. Okay, that's what's happening. And I typed it in the chat. What do AI do? They're sitting on a system-based AI approach. They are able to produce real-time data, and they're using closed growth loops for growth. Now, what is real-time data? Real-time data, I've pointed it out, and some of you have heard me say this before. If something happens in customer success, and we're learning that, like that customers found a new application, how long before the sales team in the field will know about that and will deploy it? Most companies care to join. So I find a great thing. I find a great new data point in SaaS. CS reports it up, etc. How long before execs take action? How long? I hear Janine says months, 3 months, 1 month, 6 weeks, 1 year, 21 days, 6 months, 6 to 12 months. Okay, thank you all. Okay, yeah, we don't see it exactly, Steve. Dude, does it even happen? If a tree falls in and nobody's listening, did it actually make a noise? Hey, okay, now in AI native world, how quick? Now in AI native world. In AI native world, instant, 6 days, instant, now, hours, bots take action, real, folks, that's, now if you would change this, that's an infrastructure change, right? And so this is, and thank you, Amit, immediately, like this happens, this is an, and in this time of speed, that is a critical differentiator, okay? That is a critical differentiator, okay, now. That's the point I'm trying to make, because what I'm depicting with that is that, like closed loops allow for things to go faster. In the past, I've used Amelia Earhart, who flew across the Atlantic, big thing, flew across the Atlantic and used, like an airplane that's controlled by wires, right? And today, we're flying an airplane 10 times as fast, but we need significant advances in systems and processes to do that. That is speed. That speed comes from closed loops. And that's what you see down here, right? That is what I wanted to depict here. You'll see when you start creating closed loops, it starts to grow faster. And on the left, you'll see the loops that we're using: advocacy, retention, efficiency, like we're measuring, and we are able to plot a proper trajectory. Now, what are the 5? You have seen this, probably many of you have seen this on my LinkedIn before. What you'll see here is that we have a difference. Now we're looking at 5 main growth loops, and by modeling this, we can model all kind of cool behavior, all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm gonna I'm gonna show you an example of that. I need to stop share. Okay, I'm gonna show you an example of what we do and how we do it. And so, I'm going to show you how how through growth architecture, we are now able to manipulate these metrics and create some advanced, okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, share screen. Okay, there we go. And so this is actually from the running course. This is from the existing growth course. I want to give you a sample of it. What you'll see down here is the left side of the bow tie with a feedback loop. We are mimicking in this example what the behavior is. And we're showing what the impact of a viral loop is. How we would change from X to Y. You'll see we're almost doubling from, I think it was from about 14.5 million from about 8 million, right? Then we go like, hey, what if we integrate a user-led growth loops? Okay, look at what the difference is. How many feedback? Can we pump it up? What would the impact of that be? You know what? Can we mimic the cursor growth loop? How cursor grew to X $100 million? Yes, here's how that works. Okay, and can we then show how, so here's cursor. Here's how cursor grow, right? Can we develop a technology? Can we develop an approach that demonstrates the impact of it? So in this case, the yellow line is cursor in full play. It's growing to like 500 million in no time. The red line, we are mimicking how if a competitor enters at about 20 to $30 million and splinters the market, how that decline suddenly creates a flat growth curve. We can constantly mimic this behavior, and we can simulate it, right? And see why things are happening. And we do that by activating different growth loops. Which one grows at which point in time? That is growth architecture. That growth architecture has given us a new era that we've entered. And this era is where we can calculate things, where we can understand it, where we can see that the system, how it responds to us. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I mean with that we entered a new era, right? Now, historically, and in order to pipe in, Sherry, you had to bring you on stage. You a few people have gone through the first part of the course, and you help me out here. What was their take?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to have a few of our Growth Institute members who have also taken the Growth Architecture course. So thought we could also get their voices in to hear directly on how that is going for everyone. So I know David Collette is on. Maybe you can start with any feedback on your experience with the course. I see you, David.
I haven't taken the course yet due to time zone difference because I'm in Europe. So I'm waiting for those cohort, which I would be a proud member of, as we talked in the last community call, to have something that aligns a bit better with the European time, so I can take part in that. I've done already the certification for the revenue architecture, so I looking for that one. I was looking at it. I look at the timing, and unfortunately, on top of family and work, I could not be part of it. But the initial conversation, the case study that is coming about soon, Dropbox, these are some of the, I think, great initiative to help bridge the gap between the system, the templates, the framework, and how to operationalize them, which is always the difficulty at our level. When you take a certification, when you learn and buy the revenue architecture book and take the course, you have the theory, but you do not necessarily have the ground and the material and the real-time data where you put some time and action to translate principles, systems into exercises that you know you're going to be able to repeat in your organization. So for me, that's the great gap that the Growth Institute is going to help personally fill. So I'm really excited about that.
That's great. Yeah, I know you guys as the Growth Institute founding members are super passionate about bringing all the great frameworks into an operational level out in the field, which is fantastic. Would love to hear Chris. I know Chris and Amit are also here taking the course, and Growth Institute founding members as well. Any insight you want to offer as well?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think my kids are sick of hearing me say that math is a language. Every year they got to do homework, but I let them know that math it builds. Do your homework because each year it builds, and that's something that I'm picking up on as well. Revenue architecture was there, now we're building. So we're almost literally going from algebra to calculus in this. But it challenges you. They're just putting together a language for everyone to use that's consistent. So really appreciate everything and really high recommendations.
Yeah, I think same here. We are halfway through and just excited for the session today. Uh, like Chris mentioned, I have a high schooler at home. He's a freshman and he's taking pre-calc. But he is like, hey, where have you used calculus ever? And I said, hey, just last week we modeled compounding growth for SaaS companies, and it used a first order derivative to find out growth and the second order derivative to find out the compounding. And he's like, okay, that means there is some value in doing these things. But long story short, we are incubating a service as a software business, and the trends and the thought process that Jacco is talking about are the ones that we are starting with in terms of building a first principles approach about how to create these viral loops. And the growth is there, folks. I think what we are seeing from anecdotal stories on LinkedIn about these non-public markets like Lovable and Cursor and so forth, we are seeing that in our services as a software market as well. So highly encourage. I think it's a very methodical way of thinking about things and breaking it down into things that you can control as an executive and really see the impact of those actions happening to your revenue.
Awesome. Sounds like we need a new subgroup of the Growth Institute of how growth and architecture inspires teenagers and whatnot. So we'll look into that. All right. Thank you guys so much for your insight.
So what you hear is like we're implementing mathematics. And the other day, I forgot who said it on class. Somebody was sitting next door, and her husband was sitting next door, and he kept like, wait, what? Monte Carlo analysis, right? Yeah. And these are not complex concepts. Now, historically, what was the problem? If we wanted to use a mathematical analysis, historically, it required an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, and it took us a week to calculate. Or if you wanted to learn everything about like a Monte Carlo analysis and how to do it right, the problem was not creating it in a spreadsheet. The problem was making sure it was accurate and that you didn't miss anything. That was a big problem. Folks, today, a Monte Carlo analysis can be explained in like 5 minutes and can be deployed in like 30 seconds, right? Probability analysis through the use of AI is now become accessible. While AI is changing the foundation of growth models, and it's going back to creating growth loops, it also provides us the tools to analyze those growth loops and to map it back. That's the key, right? And like I always joke, I'm super allergic to poison oak, but within the range of poison oak, there's also the antidote. That what causes the harm and that what causes the good often find itself very close to each other. Down here, the same thing. That what causes AI and drama also solves the AI problem, right? And that's where growth architecture comes in. That's like the point I love to make. Now, let me go back to my presentation. Okay. So this new era of growth, we're witnessing something. And the point I want to make down here is this growth was always there. It is not new. Folks, the early days of Eloqua and Marketo had already user-led growth. It already existed in those days. It's not new. What AI is doing, it's exposing it to us. It's showing what is happening, right? It is not saying it's, oh my God, brand new invention. No. This growth loop existed. But SaaS, we never focused on that. And you cannot look, I keep this. Oh, we already do this, folks. You don't do this. If you spend nine out of every marketing dollars on acquisition and one on retention, you're not doing this. Okay. If you have 60 micro functions on the left side of the bow tie with whatever SEO specialist, content specialist, and you have two people work three roles on defined roles on the right, you're not doing this. Okay. My point is like these loops have never been fully utilized. Now, in order to do that, I'm now going to move and show you what if we could see what happens down here. What if we could and what I'm going to change is the mindset of a dashboard. Okay, what do I mean with a dashboard? If we can see it, the moment in time I'm driving and the signal goes up and says you're driving too fast, I'm naturally slowing down, right? The moment in time I see that my energy in the battery is low, I'm taking an action on it, right? Like if I see it, I change it. If I don't see it, I don't understand it. And if I don't understand it, I don't take action on it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you this layered approach. Okay, now give me a second to explain the layers. You can read the text on the right, but understand what the layers are. At the bottom, I have the infrastructure. The infrastructure is data model and data structure. This infrastructure down here is the bow tie, and the data structure behind it is where am I measuring volume metrics, conversion metrics, and so on and so forth, right? Then I have the operator layer. I'll come back to that in a second. And then on top of that, I have the executive layer. At the executive layer, we're looking at ARR, GRR, lifetime value, cost per lead, aka CPL, client acquisition cost, and whatnot, right? And then at the top layer, we're looking at board level metrics, executive board level metrics. The investors are using this: growth rate, CAC payback, LTV to CAC ratio, rule of 40. You've seen them all, you heard of them all, right? And that top layer is really what has over the past decade driven the operator. We need to improve CAC payback. We need to change the rule of 40. We need to get to the rule of 50, and so on and so forth. And as that came down, now look at the vertical ladders, okay? You know, the further you go from the core, the longer it takes to process data and to do that. So by the time I get to board level, I often operate on quarterly metrics that are a quarter old, not real time, right? And that are ratios. And the problem with ratios is I can manipulate the outcome, right? I can manipulate the revenue per employee by firing half the people, right? Like it doesn't solve the growth problem, it just solves the metric for the investor. And so what you'll see down here is that historically, because of the lack of that operator layer, we have not fully utilized what the system is telling us. This is a significant takeaway that we are currently working with, right? And so what is it? Most of those things do not cover the entire journey. NRR and GR in many organizations still considered an afterthought. And if not NRR and GR, the processes and the metric that underlie it, right? In most cases, it lacks any form of velocity metrics. There is no time metrics. And so when I tell you like it should take faster action, none of that happens. It doesn't consider loops or lacks of K-factor metrics. It only has conversion rates, not K-factors, not included. And it misses the operator layer, what I'm saying. Because we miss that, you know, like the RevOps teams have no layer to work with. They're being relegated to one of these two layers. This cycle time, loop metrics, velocity metrics, all that is the operator. This is the revenue ops layer, think of it that way. And it managed the business, and as a result, what I said before, it managed the business on an investor metrics, which is like driving a car backwards on the highway and trying to drive 100 miles an hour, right, with the steering on the other side. We believe that there's a better solution for that. As part of a growth architecture, we are launching a new dashboard, okay? This is a more modern dashboard. This is the beautified version of that, right? Like, and this beautified version shows you all kinds of things. I'm going to zoom in a second, okay? But this dashboard is intended to drive different behavior. Here's the zoom in, and feel free to screenshot away. This is our beautification of that. What you'll see here is yes, probably. I know my team is already telling me, Jacco, there's no winning by design on it. Okay, I know. Okay, now there's winning by design on it. Everybody happy. Because if there's no winning by design on it, you know, there we go. Okay, and so you see, Real time. This is real time data, people. This is how it works. Okay, and so this dashboard, I want to show you, take you through it. Down here in the middle, you see whether we are compounding growth or not. Most organizations we deal with, they have stopped compounding growth. During growth architecture, we teach you how to determine the growth state. And that's not a static state, that's a dynamic state. Are you still compounding? And if you're drifting out of compounding and you're starting to decay more, why is that? And how did that happen? Okay, so next, what you'll see on the right, this is what you saw. This is between these two, up and below. These two are essentially indicators of how far and how wide is your curve and where the optimization possible. The bigger the dot, the bigger the opportunity to improve. Okay, so that's where that comes in. Thank you. Time you're welcome to write. I see you're adding. Okay, and so what we see down here at the right, at the middle is the Bowtie matrix, and on the left you see the probability analytics. This is a new way for us to look at the growth. Okay, we are more and more enabling this. Okay. And so that's the growth metrics. That's the growth dashboard that we're looking to help the industry with, a new way of growth. Again, if we are not having it, we cannot make it visible, right? If we don't have it. So now we have it. That is supposed to be that layer. Look at the top. I'm sure they're going to be interested in this kind of data, but in the end, they want ratios, right? They want to go like, okay, what is my investment worth right now? How long, how much more money do I need to put in to get how much out? That is normal at that level, but we can't run a business like this. This allows us to run the business. Where is the optimization possible? How do we get back to compound growth? Are we accelerating growth or are we decelerating growth? What is happening and where, and how do we fix that? That to us is seeing what is happening in the future. Today, most of the solutions we work with, most of what we're hearing, whether we hear all the reports and all the updates, we are listening, we are hearing only what happened in the past and how messed up we are. This tells you like, no, we can fix this. This thing can be designed. I'll stop here to see if there's questions on this dashboard, for which I quickly need to get all the, yes. So I'm looking to see if there's any questions. You look at this dashboard, like what are the questions you have? Okay. There's a lot there. Could you go slower? Yes, I can. Actually, that's the easiest one I can. Okay, so I'm going to go on the left. Okay. Growth rate. This is what your conventional growth rate is. And it's going down. This is an indicator it's going down. On here, we have 6 states. Typically, what we are seeing that most organizations are between these 2 states down here. All the way up to that first one, I'll make that yellow one. We know that when companies grow, they primarily grow based on exponential growth, not on exponential inputs, not exponential compound growth, right? That purple one, that is actually when it starts to compound growth. Growth efficiency is the dollar spent. How many dollars are we spending to grow? In the middle, we see the growth rate of the company. That line that I'm highlighting right now, that is called the first derivative. That first derivative is growth rate. Again, represented down here in 12%. The growth rate is going down. The other line that I'm now highlighting, that line, that shows the growth state. It's the second derivative. It indicates that growth is actually no longer compounding, and it shows you where it goes to the 0 point. On the right, we now start splitting up the factory in 3 GTM motions across acquisition, retention, and expansion. And we determine where is the biggest growth potential. So whenever I click on one of these charts will show up. And it shows me, oh, in that particular section, there is an opportunity. There is hardly any opportunity. And in this section, there is no opportunity. And every time I click on one of these things, you would visually see the change happening here in the lower end. Okay. Then in order to make that a fact, in order to make that growth a reality, I go to the Bowtie metrics and I go like, okay, the win rate was behind, or NRR is behind, GRR is behind, or we don't have enough leads conversion because we are targeting the volume and not the quality, right? All that comes from that analysis, turns into that analysis. That gives us, once we then apply and indicate, hey, what if we improve those metrics? What will be the input? over 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months, what will be the input over 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months? We're going to see the impact of that. And we're going to see the probability goes from hitting target from 10% to 30% to 50% to 70%. As we get closer to the target and implemented AI, we're now going to see how it has impacted the growth. John Williams, instrument by the Bowtie metrics? Yes, exactly. And how do you estimate the growth opportunity? Matt Kaminsky, we look at what the target is. So our goal is not the opportunity itself. We're looking at like, what is the probability to go and hit that target? And obviously if that is too harsh, then we're not going to hit that. What data foundation is needed to feed such an advanced dashboard? David Collette, yeah. We use a data schema that we provide. And by providing a data schema, it allows organizations to route their data and to structure and format their data accordingly, right? And that is it's obviously that's complicated. Yeah, that is. But if you do not fix your data solution, then you're not going to be able to do that. Jacco, you take the probability into consideration. Do you also consider the level of confidence? We do today probability, and the reason why is probability and cost are closely associated. So if I combine probability and cost, it leads to confidence. In other words, if I can spend $50 million on growing $5 million, my confidence is high. I might as well buy it. If I spend $50 million, sorry, if I need to grow $50 million and I give you zero, or I take $10 million away from you, my confidence is going to be extremely low. But this is why we're working. Can we feed this dashboard from Salesforce CRL? Yes, actually we draw that, and we have companies like Una who helps with that, and Vasco. These are companies who help with that, or HubSpot, same thing. These companies help you with extracting the dashboard's data from it. How long do it typically take to populate this tool? This is not a tool. Again, just to make sure, this is a visual, an artistic diagram of how we're doing it. When you look at the real work, it's one of these on a single slide, and so that this is just to make something look cool and for today's session. But essentially, once we make it turn it into reality, it is just a report that we send every quarter. Who is the intended audience for this? This is the CRO. Thank you, Keithan. This is CRO and RevOps team. Now, what we have noticed, and again, we have done this now with multiple customers, is who's interested in this? The FP&A team and the CFO. They speak this language. Thank you, Yasmin, for supporting Vasco, who's been a fantastic supporter of the cause. FP&A, and as is Una. And so what you'll see down here is FP&A and the CFO team, right? Like that is where we're going for, right? What we notice is that they speak this language. They understand what this is. Okay, with that, one more question. Hella dashboard. Yeah, thank you, John. SaaS track normalizes your data as well. Thank you, Dave, for bringing that up. Okay, left side, blah, blah, blah. Can we feed this from Salesforce? Yeah, left side. Okay, all that, yes. Okay, folks, as I wrap up, here's my point that I want to make, right? I'm going back to this quote by famed Neo, right? I'm trying to free your mind, okay? This growth thing is not like, oh, only a few have gifted it. Only a few companies can do this. Only if you hire the right sales executive can you do this. Look, you got to have the right product. Believe me, product is key, okay? We're not here talking about product market fit. We're not here talking about how to make engineering better. This is not what we're talking about. This is all about GTM, right? And I can tell you, we can make GTM very good. We can make it and use the same tools in AI to help us go. But like, as Neo says, right? I can only show you the door, right? The world has to walk through it. For that, we are helping you, okay? We are helping you. Revenue architecture, you may know, was $2,500. We've lowered the price of growth of growth architecture to $1,500 compared to revenue architecture. We now offer classes, exercises, and tools. This is aimed at for you to do it yourself. Obviously, you're welcome to attend the events that we organize throughout the country. In Brazil, Renata is doing it in Brazil. Berta is doing it now in the Nordics, and so on and so forth. We see an ongoing DG is scheduled to do this in in the London area. John Crispin is being trained to do this on a global scale. All this growth architecture. Classes are open, okay? Number 2 option, Growth Institute. We realized that similar to what we found in the beginning is that if we just deploy it and show you how to do it, that actually you want to talk about it, you want to get better at it, you want to test it. And so we have launched the Growth Institute, right? And the Growth Institute, again, classes, but also a community. Can people bring people together, talk about it? What's working for you? How are you deploying it? We are launching quarterly case studies. We found that people only live in their world and they get one sample every 2 years, their world. What if we create 4 case studies a year and teach you that, right? And share these best practices. These are not sit back in a classroom and watch, Dave Boyce, who teaches this, perform. 2 weeks in advance, you're going to get the case study mailed to you. You have to study it. And in classroom, smaller classrooms, you're being called out. What would you do? How do you do this? Actual MBA level case studies. And we're blessed to have Dave Boyce teach that class. Use cases. Can we exchange actual use cases? Events obviously included, and obviously you've seen the growth journal, or quarterly journal that is now a physical journal and an electronic journal that talks about growth. Folks, this is how $1 million assets are turned into $1 billion assets. Isn't it like mind-blowing? We don't even have a magazine. Go to any airport newspapers, a bookstore, and you see hundreds of magazines on even the tiniest topic, and we have nothing. We used to have nothing on growth. We're launching that. Here's your code to sign up. We really would love for you to become a founding member. The first 200 are announced to become a founding members and will be given special attention. That's the idea, folks. I believe that growth, it shouldn't be just whoever rolls the dice the luckiest way, right? And then who rolls the most has the biggest chance. This can be taught, this can be shared. As I close, right, I love to share with you this particular thing, right? And what it shows is, this is a way of seeing and designing growth using the science and the systems beneath it, okay? That is what I believe in. I'm an engineer by trade. I've engineered parts of MPEG, right? I've engineered satellite communication systems. Richard Feynman said, "What I cannot create, I do not understand." Folks, today, with this approach, we can now create growth. We can simulate it. We can show the effects of when we manipulate metrics, right? And as a result, we can now start to learn to understand. If not our job, if you are not, as a growth executive, if your job is not to understand growth, then what is it, right? Our job is now to understand so we can create it. This is our approach. With that said, I'm going to see, what is your key takeaway? Type it in the chat. Stop share. What is your key takeaway? Type it in. Key takeaway or question. I'm looking. What is your key takeaway? Sign up now. Thank you, Mike. Yes, I know. It's like sign up now. Growth loops. I'm glad I paid attention in math class. Thank you, Malcolm. Real-time data, time metrics. Fantastic. Folks, I want to bring something on to you. You may have heard this, right? Math is back. Folks, I'm gonna tune this music in as we roll in for a close. Okay, I'm gonna put up the QR code, but I want to code it. This is AI music. Okay, AI music. And all I can tell you is I love AI music nowadays. I know but AI can help us. It can do the greatest things. Okay. So with that said, I want to thank you all for being here with me today. Thank you all for sharing this wonderful opportunity. Please sign up for the Growth Architecture course or the Growth Institute as you please. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic time, okay?